Hey, how's it going? Today I'm going to go ahead and walk you through the best way to go about cutting a new body for your Ignite Nitro stadium truck. I've actually found that cutting out these bodies is probably one of the most, if not the most difficult part of building one of these new gas trucks. And I probably could be the same for any of the older, legacy gas trucks as well. And the main reason for that is, the bodies that are out today, they don't have cut lines for, your high speed needle, low speed needle adjustment, filling up the fuel tank, as well as, the cooling head for the engine. So, as well as, the exhaust pipe and the headers. So, the idea is the whole high level concept is you want to try to remove as little material as possible. Stadium truck bodies, as everybody knows, while they look awesome, they are not exactly the most durable body out there. And typically where you see a break on any body, regardless of what brand you have, it's going to be somewhere around the rear shock towers, whether in front of it or behind it or whatever. So you want to remove as little amount of material as possible once you get past that roof. And really anywhere, so you can maintain that structural rigidity. So my current body has about a half year on it now, and it's in pretty good shape because, as you can see, it's got a lot of shoe goo as well as drywall tape reinforcement. There are multiple layers, up to 4 layers in some spots. So yeah, it adds a little bit of weight. I mean, it's not that much heavier. I would say maybe another 30 or 40 grams more, which when you got almost a 2 horsepower motor in a stadium truck, 30 or 40 grams really doesn't matter, and you could use the extra weight outside for traction. So it doesn't matter that much. It's not like indoor high grip electric racing. So with that being said, you also will see some issues with your rear spoiler tearing off. So you'll want to have a lot of reinforcements there, but we'll get into that on the next segment of this. So it's important that you have the right tools before you get started. One of the tools I think is probably the most useful when it goes to cutting out a body is curved lexan scissors, like so. These ones are Protex, I believe, but you really can get any brand as long as you have something that's curved, as you can see. You're going to need a pair of straight scissors, and I use this for cutting the side rails on the body, as well as any other straight sections. It's just a lot easier than doing with curved scissors, and it kind of saves your hands a little bit. I like to have 2 different, specifically for these gas truck bodies, I like to have 2 different Sharpies, a thick and a thin one. And I'll show you why I use this for actually tracing out over my old body to save a lot of time of extra fitment, trying to make sure that you get your cuts right so it fits around everything. You'll need body post reamers. So this is for cutting a hole wherever your body posts are. And then a hobby knife, which will come in use for any, whenever you're cutting out like the engine bay, for example. I also use a Dremel as well. I found that, when you're cutting the hole for filling your fuel tank on the top, on your roof, using a Dremel is much easier than trying to do it with scissors or, some other method. One thing I didn't mention as well, one thing I like to do, instead of using a fuel fill bottle, I know it's easier to do when you're practicing and stuff hanging out the track, but there's really not an easy way to fill up the fuel in these things without spilling fuel everywhere. So the only way that I found to be foolproof, no fuel spillage, is actually to use a fuel gun. So what I do is put the body on the car or on the truck, you pull it back. Whenever you come into the pit, your pitman pulls this open and then sticks a fuel gun in, and then when he's done, let go, pull out the fuel gun. So when you do that, then there's basically no fuel spillage, and you ensure that your fuel tank is filled up all the way. So I'd also add some structural rigidity. With these bodies, as I said before, you want to minimize any type of material removal. So keep as much on there as you can. Also to reduce parachuting and to improve the aerodynamics of the body. So I found that if you have a cooling hole, for example, in the windows or wherever, it actually interferes with the aerodynamics of the body, and it just lets more dirt and dust and stuff in there, and it can increase the amount of maintenance and stuff you have to do. You know, these things are actually really low maintenance, but it can significantly make it even lower maintenance if you minimize dust getting on the chassis. So, you know, as far as keeping the motor cool, I mean, I've never had a problem with this particular motor, or even the OS 12TG. My motors stay, you know, between 200 and, you know, 215 at the most, even with no cooling holes. So you don't really need them. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the main part of the body before we get on to the next step. So we'll do a little bit of a time lapse. All right, I have my rough cutout complete. At this point, what I'm going to do is go ahead and remount the body holes at each of the 4 locations. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll return. All right, have the rough cut done as well as the body holes reamed out. At this point, I don't need to worry about the spoilers. That can be done actually after you get your body back from the painter, or if you paint yourself. So right now as it sits, it actually will fit on the front, and it's going to be like that for no matter what kit. Now the problem you run into really is, as you can see, you have this big honking motor in here and an exhaust pipe and header that you got to work around. So and the air filter. So the best way I found to do that is you cut the body out while before you paint the body. So what I like to do is first I line it up over the holes approximately where I need it to be. So that's about centered right there. So now I have a general idea. And then what I would do normally is just take my fine tipped Sharpie and just kind of mark around on the inside of where you think your cuts need to be. And give yourself about a 1/4 inch leeway in there. The reason for that is, you know, maybe when you go fit the body, you know, the motor may be off by like a 1/4 inch or whatever. So that allows you to maintain tight cut lines around your Nitro engine and equipment. So I don't need to do that though, because I already have a body cut out. So to save time, what I'm going to go ahead and do is use my old body as a template. So I'm going to actually put the old body on top of the new body, like so, and then try to squish it down as best you can without scratching it if possible. It is kind of difficult to do, and it's not going to be an exact fit, right? So you just got to get it kind of close and hold it in place. So what I'll do then is take my fine tipped Sharpie, actually in this case I might use the broader one, right? And so as you can see here, that I don't want to make my line with my Sharpie right along my old cut line. So I knew before that I had cut too much right here, so I'm going to keep that in mind. And I'm also going to go ahead and draw around about, I would say, a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch, somewhere in that range, away from my old cut lines. That way it's easy for me to back out from there, but it gives you the general shape of what you want this thing to look like. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start doing that. All right, I went ahead and traced, as you can see, my old body onto my new body. I saved tons of time. And what I did is just gave it about a 1/4 inch or so from my old cut lines with the old body on top. And what it allows me to do is at least get a general idea of where the cut lines need to be. And then what I'll do is take my new body car over here, and then put that out of the way, and just hold it over again over the body holes to get a general idea of where it is, and just do a quick sanity check on here before you start cutting. And it looks like my cut lines are going to be just about perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, I finished the trimming of the body. So what I recommend to do next now is just do one final check on the truck and make sure it fits. If you did it right, it should fit like a glove, like so. These Proline bodies do fit pretty tight, like a glove on here. I know the J Concepts bodies, they have a little bit more leeway in there. I'm not sure if they're more durable or not. I haven't tried them. I do know the kit body that comes with the Team Associate T6.2 is for sure not durable. So that's just my experience with it. And you know, the Proline bodies, it's just really critical, and we'll talk about that in the next segment of this, but how to ensure that you get a lot of durability out of your body. So as far as I can tell, you know, everything fits tightly on the truck, and you can see there's minimal air gaps in there. There's no rubbing of anything. You do want to check, at least in the Proline bodies, I know on the front end of the truck, as you can see, they actually will hit the camber links on the body. So you need to actually do some extra trimming to ensure that you have no rubbing that could create any binds or other issues. So you want to make sure that after you finish trimming your body that you go through either with a Dremel, or you could potentially use a file or sandpaper. I prefer a Dremel, and go through it and make sure that all of your cut lines and transitions are really smooth. You want no hard corners or edges on there. So you want everything to be a nice and really smooth transition. It's especially critical on these Nitro trucks just because of all the heat can weaken the lexan. And if there's any type of potential spot that they can crack, they're gonna crack. So, especially because you're driving them outdoors for the most part. Some places have indoor Nitro, and the jumps are big. You know, you land upside down on a jump that's 30, 40, maybe even 50-foot gap. You can imagine these bodies are weak. They're going to break easily. So you want to make sure that you have the minimum amount of material that's removed, as I've said 10 times now. You want to make sure that your cut lines are tight and very, very smooth transitions everywhere. No hard edges. And also, once you get the body back from the painter, making sure it cures thoroughly, and then go through and reinforce it, which we'll talk about next. So I'll go ahead and clean it up, throw it in the bag, and then send it to the painter.